additional debate, so if you can directly address your point of privilege.
Give me the chance and you stop interrupting, then I can.
If point of privilege, again, back directly. So what is your point of privilege, Chair Gina Charles Newton?
Okay, my point of privilege is we received an email, right? We all received an email with the audit. Now, my point of privilege was explain that audit to me, which Controller McCabe did, but you interrupted him while he was explaining it. So I just need clarification. So the $10,000 to $50,000 written quotes that was talked about, is the audit saying, the audit that we received in the email, is it saying that requirement for the three written quotes was not followed? Is that what the audit is saying?
Thank you, Chair. And going back to the controller, if you can directly answer that question that was stated within the audit.
Just so I don't confuse anymore, I guess what is the question?
So Chair Eugenia Charles Newton, if you can restate your question for the controller.
Thank you. So I was trying to lead to this question based on what we've received. So you stated, Controller, in the question for the cost price analysis, that between 10 to 50,000, that whenever, I guess it's 10 to 50,000, where we're spending money, we have to get, Navajo Nation has to get 3 written quotes. Now, you said that within the audit, they took a small sample, and from that, there were 4 that were not properly bid out. So I'm asking you, the 4 that were not properly bid out by Navajo Division of Transportation, was that required the 3 written quotes? So are you saying that 4 projects did not receive the proper 3 written quotes? Thank you.
Controller, just directly to that question, please.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. As far as I know, the finding is not that they didn't receive the proper documentation. The finding is they didn't also include the cost price analysis before the bid went out.
Thank you, Controller. And colleagues, will go back to the main motion. 31 seconds, Chair Eugenia Charles Newton.
Thank you, Speaker. So there's just a lot of questions that I have about the audit and why it was sent to us. But I guess I can ask the controller separately to explain that to me and why that's really kind of important in this confirmation process. I don't have any other questions. I waived the rest of my time.
Thank you, Chair. Then going next to Vice Chair Johnson with 121.
I'd like to thank everybody for being here today. I'm ready to vote. I'll waive the rest of my time.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Next, we do have Chair Crotty with 54 seconds.
Yes, I'd like to motion to table this legislation until the department completes the CIP according to Appropriation Act and RDC approves the plan to be in compliance with the law. And I'll reserve my time.
And 36 seconds, and there is a motion to table on the floor, so just give us a few moments to put that on the board here. So motion to table language is on the board. It does read motion to table 0177-25 and bring back until the Resources and Development Committee approves the CIP plan per 12 NNC Section 120I, 840B, and 860. Chair Crowdy? Is there a second? Second by Chair Regina Charles Newton. And we will go back to the sponsor for 3 minutes. Chair Jesus, you are given this time to be able to express your reason to or not table the legislation.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Speaker, and also colleagues of the 25th Navajo Nation Council. As I had started this morning at 10:30 a.m. in regards to bringing legislation 0177-25 before this body, and again, as stated, the purpose that I had initially dropped this legislation was going through that particular due process of confirmations that Boo Nygren had made an appointment of Mr. Tom Platero as Division Director for Navajo Department of Transportation. And again, colleagues, I do appreciate a lot of the concerns that were brought up here this afternoon. And I know that as oversight to Navajo Department of Transportation, we had been trying to get some of these compliance issues in place, and even more so the processes in place. And I believe that's where Mr. Platero has been mentioning that his team is still making efforts to make those corrections or deficiencies in hopes that the division can go forward in compliance with, our laws that are currently in existence. And on top of that, there are still some barriers and challenges that still needs to be hurdled over, but it's just sometimes, not favorable, because when we go through the 164 review process of a contract, it's very inconsistent, because oftentimes it gets held up at OOC or OMB or either Department of Justice. So some of these areas, we just all need to collectively unify, and how do we hurdle over these challenges and barriers. But in regards to the law, I know Budget and Finance Committee has been bringing this particular law to Resources and Development Committee in regards to the capital improvement plan. And I know that Navajo Department of Transportation is, in the context of this plan, also Head Start, Senior Center, and some other departments, because that comprises of a community planning component for that CIP. So again, this was a confirmation, and I would have hoped that we would just go directly and to voting and confirming or not confirming, but I leave it to you as colleagues as with your votes. And again, this was just going through the process, but I leave it to you, colleagues, in regards to tabling this legislation, but RDC wants to get that accomplished by February of 2026.
And we will put 2 minutes on the board for the tabling motion. And it is a majority vote. And we do have a vote of 7 in favor, 16 opposed, and with the speaker not voting. So motion to table fails, and we will go back to the main motion. We do have Delegate Nez with 5 seconds left.
When was the Navajo Nation agreement with San Juan County provided to the president of the Navajo Nation, and has he signed it?
And Chair Crotty with 36 seconds.
Please explain the MO, or the OMB memo on legislation 020524, where you attempted to move money from the Alamo N55 road and the Two Gray Hills road. And I'll reserve my time.
16 seconds, and back to Honorable Jesus. Point of privilege raised by Chair James.
Yeah, thank you, Speaker, member of council, audience. Please don't forget my question. I know you were responding to my questions, but in the middle of your response, there was a point of order. So don't forget to respond to my questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair James. And Mr. Platero, Chair James did ask about the fuel excise tax and the timeline of how dollars will be spent, and then the 9 IGA agreements. Honorable Jesus.
Hakushi, thank you, Madam Speaker. So at this time, I'd like to go ahead, yield time back over to Mr. Platero to give responses to colleagues that had asked questions.
Madam Speaker, members of the council, regarding Delegate James's question of the 85%, all those were done before I came. I had no control over that. And so there were, except at the very beginning, back in 2011, I did play a role in that. But at that time, the process was a little bit different. There was a review committee that made the recommendation of which projects to fund, and that was based on a scoring system. Subsequent to that, the rules were changed, I believe in 2018 or so. So all of those appropriations, I did not play a role in, so I really can't speak to how those were divided. And earlier in my presentation, I indicated that McKinley County had an engineer on staff. That's how they got a lot of money for that. So that's all I can equate it to. As far as the IGA, Coconino County, we have an agreement with. That one was updated. Coconino County is one of two counties that actually gives money to the Navajo Nation. McKinley County is current. San Juan County, Utah was updated, and we're going to the second appropriation for payment of those. San Juan County Delegate Nez, Chairman, Jay, yours is approved. I just need to find it. It's signed. The president signed it, and I'll get you a copy of that. Sandoval County was just signed about 3 weeks ago. So those are the counties that we have agreements with. How long do I intend to stay with Navajo DOT? It's up to you all, but my plan is 1 month, 1 year, 1 month, and 19 days from now, December 11, 2026. Delegate Crotty's question on my intent. My intent was that when the funds were appropriated at the time, I'm not sure who the Budget and Finance consulted with at Navajo DOT and got those numbers. I wasn't aware of it until the allocation came. The first year, I wasn't there during the budget process. I was made aware of it at the time that I came to DOT, so it was already in the general funds budget. And that was where I believe personnel lapse fund or something were allocated out to projects. And my reason for trying to move it was general funds lapse at the end of every year. So rather than losing it, we looked at some projects that we could do. Uh, uh, Delegate Crotty raised an issue of going back to the community. So I spoke with our sponsor and we withdrew that legislation. But the intent was not to lose those funding that were allocated to Navajo DOT because personnel lapse funds do lapse every year. And in this case, in the subsequent year, 50% of the unexpended amount from the previous year was allocated back, which was fiscal year '25. And both, again, the allocation for 5001 and N55 were completed the process. And Delegate Nez, it is signed, and I will get you a copy of it.
Point of privilege raised by Chair Crotty.
Yes, Speaker, my question to the agent was, on that legislation, there's a OMB memo, and the OMB memo asks the Department of Transportation, who requested the budget transfer, to explain why they were transferring funding to deal with their operating deficit, excuse me, and they mentioned the Navajo Nation Fair. And so I want an answer on why Department of Transportation would take money from a community road project to cover their cost from the Navajo Nation Fair, and why NDOT did not offer to the community to purchase equipment to the community that it was allocated to help with their roads. If I could get that answered, thank you.
Thank you, Chair Crotty. And back to Mr. Platero. Point of privilege raised by Chair James.
Thank you. I raise this point of privilege to Rule 16 of our council rules. Again, Mr. Patero, how much of the federal roads project funds do you plan to spend if confirmed? That was one of the other questions that I asked, and you haven't responded to that. Thank you.
Mr. Platero.
Madam Speaker, members of the council, I'm not sure where the language as the fair came from, but if you look at the budget reallocation plan that I put in there, I requested money for snow plows and money for road maintenance materials. In my request for the budget transfer, which is dated August 26, 2024, I never once mentioned the Navajo Nation Fair. How OMB added Navajo Nation Fair in there is beyond me, but if you look at the document that I did sign, it was for road maintenance materials in the amount of $50,000. So in my request, I never requested to move funds into the Navajo Nation Fair. Regarding Delegate James's request, I am beholden to the process of the compliance. Once the compliance is done, then we can move into construction. I can't, in all consciousness, say this is how much we're going to spend. It's not up to me. It is a combination of both internal and contractors to complete the compliance process so that we can get to the construction phase. So I, in all honesty, can't predict the future because there are so many variables that go into the process of getting a contract for construction, sir. Madam Speaker.
Okay, thank you. And I believe, Mr. Platero, you were in the middle of responding to the questions. So I'll give you back the floor if you can finish your responses.
Madam Speaker, I did provide a response back to Delegate Nez on San Juan. I did provide a response back to Delegate Crotty on, we were trying to expend those dollars before they go away because funds lapse. I'm not sure if there's any other questions that I missed, Madam Speaker.
Right, thank you. And we'll go back to reserve time. I only have one reserve time, 16 seconds. Chair Crotty.
Oh, thank you. So in terms of, I'm just going to propose a directive after this legislation and to direct NDOT to work with chapters on regional road plans and
Thank you, Chair Crotty. And I don't have any more reserve time or queue to speak or questions. So Honorable Jesus, any final comments? And then we will go for a vote.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Speaker. So I just want to thank my colleagues for a lot of the concerns that were brought up. I know that we've been having NDOT provide report to Resources and Development Committee, but with some of the information that was brought up here by colleagues today was just, in a sense, new information. But I do realize now that it is the ask by Budget and Finance Committee to get a thoroughfare transportation plan together, whether that's in increments of 5 years, but we have that Tribal Transportation Improvement Plan, TTIP, that is already in place. But again, I heard the concerns of equity across the 5 regions or even through the 24 delegate region. So I do appreciate my colleagues listening in on some of the concerns that were shared by colleagues here by the 25th Navajo Nation Council. And I just thank everyone for this robust dialogue and questioning here this morning and into this afternoon. And it's your choice how you want to vote for, this legislation for confirmation of Mr. Tom Platero. So that's all I have, Madam Speaker. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Jesus. And colleagues, we'll put 2 minutes on the board, and this is for the main motion, and it is a majority vote. And while we're voting, I do see Shiaj, former speaker, Mr. Johnny Nays, also in the North Gallery. And we do have a final vote of 17 in favor, 6 opposed, with speaker not voting. And congratulations, Mr. Platero and Honorable Jesus. We will move on with legislation 0172-25. Staff?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Item F, Legislation 0172-25, an action relating to the Resource and Development, Budget and Finance, and Nabakeetic Committees and the Nomination Council, approving $10 million from the unreserved undesignated fund balance, UUFB, for the Navajo Department of Transportation to fund Route N9402 road improvement for the communities of Hauk, Tesana, and Nahatatil. Prime sponsor is Honorable Arbin Mitchell. This legislation is final authority with Nomination Council. There are committee reports attached to the legislation. The first from the Resource and Development Committee dated July 28, 2025, recommended do pass with no amendment. The Budget and Finance Committee dated September 16, 2025, recommended do pass with no amendment. The Nabakeetic Committee dated September 25, 2025. This legislation was not acted on at the time expired for the Nabakeetic Committee. Per Nomination Council Rules of Order, Rule 9, legislation has been read into record by electronic voice recording. Madam Chair, Madam Speaker.
And colleagues, we will call for a motion. Motion? Motion by Chair Eugenia Charles Newton. Is there a second? Second by Delegate Stephen Arvizo. Colleagues, will we be having questions, comments on this legislation? Second call. We'll go to 20-minute presentation. Honorable Mitchell.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The 25th Navajo Nation Council. The Kwenha no Yagi to Cha. The Enoch Sagi to Cha and Hidishnil. The Kodoshi a Dehunsi Dolil. Is the East Sagi a Badolil. She told it in Inchla. She but she Kia Ani the Suche. Naga the Etashnal. The Kodo a Sabeta Nadit Agin Etato Nils 0172-25 Nidia Kodo Yilka. I have two agents here. A Department Division of Transportation Ajay Bananashi. Do Ajay Ginad Nisho Nakirazanache to get this far. Donda Bata Isilo Dada Questionnaires and Hake bus route no Bayadati Adonda Ecuador Nidia Mislupetero Ecuador Nabedekit da Atinigi Eya Ecuador Ecuador Pesala Inikedo Ecuador Ecuador Naoka Gidoli. The Navajo Nation, within Navajo Nation, there's pots of money. UUFB, Ados Hassan. Ados Hassanigi, Yusibani Jage infrastructure. I know that there's power line, Ajaslabanija, Ado water, Doslabanija, Ado Anido, a senior center, Ajay Lapasaner, Ado equipment, Doslabain the Hasni. Akodi ithinigi roads again atosla pannichata. There's probably a little road projects here and there, but in Lego ane ithinigi yego benija nahoti enidia dastra or yugo ya ithinigi tahdi don that so that impacts a lot of our travels for our Navajo citizens. Donda the Alta Kiron that and Edige Ecuador Tinigi Hasha Edige priority deal prioritize because we already did a lot of other infrastructure with other pots of money. Ede yakodo bana idishka. But before I turn it over, Shinandala Badadosi, Mr. Raymond Smith, Kodon Leda, Inandan Lede, Ado and a Tessa Ado, Coordinate Anila, Niksuke, Ado the Mait, Coordinate stay, Edo Habit additional, Kodo Ada but a Tienigi, by nature. Ado di Tienigi le Mait. Adonda, this is a 18 miles route. A team. Adonda Nabik a lot of our elders don't like to travel on I-40. Even on what a teen yat elba inils and all it. So it needs on a yatikodo. Ini kedo lihtida besogi. Ado anta kodoshi I'll go ahead and turn the floor over to my agent. But before I go on, I can't additionally not on it. Lin le that you yendad na so hakuishi nache. Hakuidi sibut is not all day. Ado anta ekodon. Chapter official delegates been done. It's almost the same as the Pine Spring Road. Hakuid seems to is now all day. Karen Zenotian. So I'll go ahead and turn the floor over to my agent here to go with the presentation.
Yet Arnold Anne without the neck be Ehason Che Kim Na. He was a council delegate from Rock Point, Arizona. So Anne, so that's a powerful title. Ya Tatnesani Schlitka Bash Chinklichin, that's a Che the Betlerin, that's an Alsense, RH. So I've been on this project way back in, thanks to Mr. former Delegate Smith. I don't know how he worked his magic. I had nothing to do with it. Like I said, I only started with $85,000 of Sehesa money for help. I was just assigned. How our office works is our department, our section. A team peso bajal ito kung peso bahalon hit non hit what them were assigned projects. So this was one of my projects. And my partner Joe Ajay 18 benanish el inligi behas and shake kodo slada or shovel bear behind this chair could Donald sauce in national. So, but not sure what did that based on that 20 million, 10 million set Adonana in 2022. Then there was another 10 million that was obligated, and the money came from Arizona legislative appropriation, and that was from Representative Myron Sosi. So just a quick update. The first page, at the time, this is before the pandemic, 20 million abigato. What the pandemic is, the cost of material just tripled. I think it's on laden what. The next page are the budget information. 1.22. That was for the survey, the drainage, preliminary clearance, and then also the allotment consent. So AD with the auto connect that's the hooky ADT at different section from Lupton to Sanders, not at Z. Ado kone nan eya dideni kone allotment consent we got 53%, we only need 51. Aro kone e ya nana di ni hanana hinge begin on nishi 18. This does not include double chip seal. Only let grate and drain and possibly gravel. Able ka aro kone budget form 2026. Aro kone nana sozi e ya. Last time I did because of the crash data, I got this from the state of Arizona. So from 2020 to 2024, there were 311 crashes out of that and 19 fatalities. So if you need more information, it's all there. So the other thing is I want to say, Dishi, based on your yagi benina, I know. I think it's a test to all of us. It's like a report card. I don't need the net Navajo Nation yet like that. To me, this is a test. Who knows if we complete this, which Arizona chapters can be the next one? Yeah, Joe Bashibalding. There, Joe.
Thank you, Priscilla. Thank you, Madam Chair, 25th Council members. I saw the Vice President here earlier just now. My name is Joe Peterman. I work with Navajo DOT. I manage the roads department. I've been there 8 years. I am the project manager for DED 9402 and 9402 Hop to Lupton, 18-mile project. Started, again, to mention, it was started by former Delegate Raymond Smith. Arizona Representative Myron Sosi provided $10 million Arizona appropriation. Arizona DOT, they provided an additional $10 million. So right now we have $20 million. We spent about $1.3 million on design, consent, allotment land. There's a lot of allotment land. We got that done. We're at the point now, we got our ARC and bio done, our drainage done, our 401 Clean Water Act, all that is done. We're at the point right now where we're ready to go through the Tribal Authorization Access Project, the TAA process for right-of-way. So this project right here, it's at 95, 98% shovel ready. And we don't have enough money. We're looking at $36 million. If you look at the most recent engineer's estimate, we hired our on-call consultant, Wilson and Company Engineering, Dibble Engineering. Using the Arizona appropriation, we provided them funding to get our plan, specification, and estimate together. Right now, we have 100% plans. Our specifications are 100%. Our latest engineer's estimate is at $36 million to bring this road all the way to a chip seal, stripe, fence, get it like a real road out there. Right now, we only have about 18 and change left in Arizona money. We need some more funds to get this project. I fully intend to bid this project out using that Arizona fund, 18 million. Whatever we can get out of that, we're going to put that on the ground right now. It's probably going to turn it into a fancy dirt project, bring it up from a primitive earth road to a fancy earth road project. It would be, you know, in our heart, we want to give the people more than that. At least get it gravel. It should be so nice to get it chip seal, get it striped. That's why we're here doing this request for additional funding. If we can get 10 million UUFB, CISN, whatever, that would add to the fund. We want to go back to Arizona. I'm going to put out the bid, get a contract going, and go back to Arizona and say, look, we're moving. We're putting this money in ground. We need some more, and we're going to go back to Arizona to also request for more funding. So I thank you very much for your time and consideration of this legislation, Kat.
Kasi siya na do lesh kudo iya si agent gin kit na on the status of the project. in addition on later but that isn't such a whole the plans are complete. On the construction documents, it'll be issued out here soon, though. But we did transportation. They're going to start bidding this out. Le nahat zilo snack kujo do le shai gaje the no no kudo did 18 million zi dot kudo obka nasa ado le no la kudo shi het aban so kisto le ane hotel did Lego arts within your own area. She did out teenage a teenage and has the don't so we know we can probably allocate some monies within each of the delegate region. Edi bati kregotan jundole alan Lego and hidden there tiendas datle don't the nakalchindo to yosh the iltra nadaka a cocodoshi so Madam Speaker, just one more comment from
real quickly, I heard in 20 being mentioned. That was one of my projects. We only had less than 500,000. The environmental and biological center line survey. You know, we got one of those coffee cans, and we do feel in hand engineers and different staff members, and we would collect those vehicle parts. I have a whole bucket of vehicle parts along there, so said that's the first thing you need is clearance. And luckily, in a way, Navajo Nation was blessed. It wasn't blessed that that road 98 caved in. So Arizona DOT had to jump over here. We had no money, and we were happy that they helped out build that road because I just want to make that mention. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. We'll go ahead and waive the rest of our time. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate Mitchell, and also your agents. We will go to questions, but before that, I also want to recognize another guest in the North Gallery, Orlando Teller, former Assistant Secretary of Tribal Affairs of U.S. Department of Transportation. First in queue, we do have Chairwoman Crotty.
Okay, appreciate it, Speaker, and I appreciate Delegate Mitchell for continuing on with this project. It's amazing that the state of Arizona was able to help the nation with $20 million, and it sounds like you'll be able to start the process. My challenge here is this is a request from fiscal year 2025, and so, Speaker, at first I was going to ask that you determine if this legislation is out of order, because on line 2, page 4 of 4, it does say pursuant to 12 NNC section 2 or 820N, any amount of the 10 million approved herein that remains unspent or unencumbered at the end of fiscal year 2025 shall revert to the general funds unless council waives such provision by a 7/8 vote prior to the date in which the funds are scheduled to revert. And that date is September 30th, 2025. So this legislation needs to be reviewed and some help, and we're willing to help Delegate Mitchell to get this legislation into compliance. Colleagues, we've also asked Delegate Mitchell to assist the 25th Navajo Nation Council with a comprehensive transportation plan for each district using CEJASIN dollars or mixed funding that will not lapse at the end of the fiscal year. So I'll motion to table this legislation to keep it alive until those documents are provided, and working with the Office of the Speaker and the council on a comprehensive transportation funding plan for all 24 districts. And I will reserve my time. Thank you.
That is reserved time of 3:09. Thank you, Chair Crotty, for that motion to table. And correct, we have been working on, the office has been working on a comprehensive road plan. So Delegate Mitchell would be willing to work with you as well. So colleagues, we'll put that on the board. Chair Crotty, that is updated on the board. Chair Crotty?
Thank you. Just for clarification, so fiscal year, yes, 2026 forms are updated, and is developed for the 24 legislative districts. Just so that we know what comprehensive means. So that means like all delegates work with your chapters, and let's move forward with the plan.
Chair, given deadline of next quarter. Chair Crowdy, is that correct?
Yeah, do you want to do a timeline? Okay, you go.
All right, and that was second by Chairman James. And at this time, I'll allow 3 minutes to Honorable Mitchell to state his reason for tabling motion.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The 25th Navajo Nation Council. I can't now do the so it's within our 20 minutes. It Route 9402. Jay Basa by Nick ne the Kodo a table Hodo ne. Ishe Kodo lil. Do and a Plahaba Hatan no, which is the FY26 budget again. That was part of the amendment that legal counsel has. So I thought Ilya, but could comprehensive could need again. It's just ako. Don't the abahasi hasha anils kodoli anils ko inlaid and cat him and does it. Don't die the how they need within the 24th district. Okay, shuttle zone, shuttle ako. Kale so the Napailti. So kudo the sector. Don't labor na shahada a hawk. Don't the now that's the can tell it other represents. The other two chapters now they have a lot of road issue that needs to be taken care of. Okay, so actually I'll work with the Speaker's office and then also Department of Transportation to bring this back as a comprehensive. Nadil so state Thank you very much.
And colleagues, we will put 2 minutes on the board to vote on the tabling motion. It is a majority vote. Vice Chair Johnson, Chair Jesus, Delegate Slater. With that, we do have a vote of 18 in favor, 2 opposed, with the speaker not voting. Tabling motion carries. Going next to 0215-25. Staff?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Item G, legislation 0215-25, an action relating to the Law and Order and Nabakeetit Committees and the Nomination Council, confirming the appointment of Colin Bradley Esquire as the Navajo Attorney General. Prime sponsor is Honorable Eugenia Charles Newton, co-sponsor Honorable Vince R. James. There are committee reports attached to the legislation from the Law and Order Committee dated September 22nd, 2025, recommended due pass with no amendment. From the Nabakeetit Committee dated October 9, 2025, the legislation failed and was referred to the Nomination Council with no amendment. This legislation is final authority with Nomination Council. Per Nomination Council Rules of Order, Rule 9, legislation has been read into record by electronic voice recording. Madam Speaker.
And if we could keep the noise down, please, in the gallery. We are still in middle of our agenda. With that, we have a motion by Chairman Nez. Second? Second call for a second. Second by Delegate Helena Nez-Begay. Colleagues, any questions, comments? Second call. And third call. We'll put a final vote on the board. 2 minutes, colleagues, and this is simple majority vote. Delegate Casey Allen Johnson, Chair Brenda Jesus, Delegate Carl Slater, Delegate Curtis Yanito. How do you vote? Red. And we have a vote of 2 in favor, 19 opposed, with the speaker not voting. Main motion fails. Colleagues, we are down to our last legislation. Honorable Shauna and Tlaw. Staff, if we could read the legislation to the record.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Members of the Navajo Nation Council, item H, legislation 0194-25, an action relating to the Resources and Development, Budget and Finance, and Nabakeetic Committees in the Navajo Nation Council, approving $1,270,800 from the unreserved undesignated fund balance UUFB for the Navajo Department of Transportation to fund the purchase and installation of 2 automated weather observing systems for the Tuba City and Chinle airports. Prime sponsor is Honorable Shauna Ann Claw. Co-sponsors are Honorable Helena Nesbegay, Honorable Casey Allen Johnson, and Honorable Otto So. There are committee reports attached to the legislation from the Resource and Development Committee dated September 8, 2025, recommended due pass with no amendment. The Budget and Finance Committee dated October 8, 2025. The committee reports a due pass with no amendment. However, there is a note with legislation 0194-25 was on the approved agenda for consideration by the Budget and Finance Committee at its duly called special meeting. Legislation 0194-25 received a motion by Vice Chair Carl R. Slater. However, a second was not made. Therefore, legislation 0194-25 moves forward to the next assigned committee or council as required in 2 NNC section 164A12 as indicated in the memorandum titled Legislative Process Regarding What Constitutes Committee Action dated August 21, 2019 from Edward A. McCool, Acting Chief Legislative Counsel. There's a committee report from the Nabakeetic Committee dated October 16, 2025. The legislation passed and was referred with no amendment. Nomination Council is final authority per Nomination Council Rules of Order. Rule 9 legislation has been read into record by electronic voice recording. Madam Speaker.
Thank you, staff. And do we have a motion? Motion by Chair James. Second by, I believe I seen Chairman Ricky Nez. We will have questions, so I'll go to sponsor for 20-minute presentation.
Thank you, Speaker. May I have Ms. Jalissa Johnson send out the PowerPoint presentation to all of council? And may I have that PowerPoint presented, and we will go ahead and begin once it is on the board. So we do have it there. Good afternoon, everyone. Do yad she shana en klain she aro do na enshling ye ya hwantlan in shlino toward chini bashichin tachin de chedo ki ani de shnala kut amado sanshla. Aro she ya beshpansa ana chinli bet hado ye equit a but hadishato banashnish. Akot as a lanja a hehet de deshni khala a nanish in la aro di sabina with a nehitasel tos. Akadira a chiditanat ahigi a bahigi it late in lead don late twittiness there's a kosh a khala a di azil in a benetchin a badanit eto a base of a kid. Akadira. We do have a PowerPoint here, and although you do have your legislation 019425, I want to acknowledge my co-sponsors, which is Helena Nesbegay, Honorable Otto So, and Honorable Casey Allen Johnson. So this is very important for 2 hubs of the Navajo Nation, which do have the largest population on the Navajo Nation. I am joined here today by my agents, Mr. Michael Sosi of the Division of Transportation, as well as our former Assistant Secretary, Mr. Orlando Teller, who did work with Tribal Affairs under the U.S. Department of Transportation.
So we will go ahead and begin with the PowerPoint here, and we'll move on to the second slide. So within this legislation, it authorizes the appropriation of $1,270,800 from the UUFB. The funds will be used by the Navajo Nation Division of Transportation to purchase and install 2 automated weather observing systems, one at Tuba City Airport and one at Chinle Airport. The legislation is initiated under the oversight of the Resources and Development Committee, Budget and Finance Committee, Nabikiyastikit Committee, and it requires the action of the Navajo Nation Council. This is a simple majority approval, so I ask for my colleagues for your support. The purpose and rationale of this legislation is that the 2 airports, Tuba City and Chinle, will gain upgraded safety measures through the automated weather observing systems, otherwise known as an AWOS. These weather monitoring capabilities are important for safe aviation operations, takeoff, landing, flight planning, especially in remote rural chapters like the Navajo Nation's territories. The infrastructure consists of specialized footing and wind sensors. By funding these projects from the unreserved, undesignated fund balance, the council is using this reserve to make these infrastructure improvements. This measure shows investment in the transportation infrastructure and safety in the Navajo Nation's aviation facilities. The implication and the notes for this legislation are that with the installation of AWOS at these 3 airports, pilots and air traffic may have better real-time weather information such as wind speed, direction, visibility, cloud ceiling, etc. This can improve safety for the general aviation in the region. The appropriation using the UUFB means that by drawing on the reserve, it is better than passing a tax or a levy on our airports. There are also unmet needs for our airports due to the minimum amount the Navajo Nation receives from the Federal Aviation Administration. Once the AWOS is installed, those AWOS systems may reduce weather-related disruptions, support emergency and medical flight operations, and enhance overall airport capability in the Navajo Nation. On this next photo, you will see here, this was a tragedy that was incurred in my community of Chinle. This happened on August 5th, 2025. Mr. Teller and we responded to this tragedy. We have this image from the Navajo Nation Police Department. The Chinle Police Department received reports of black smoke at around 12:44 p.m. This plane consisted of 4 crew members, 2 of which were family members, and all 4 crew members of CSI Aviation Parish. The aircraft was a King Air 300, and the reason for the crash was unknown. The National Transportation Safety Board, NTSB, and FAA are still investigating. I want to thank our responders of the Chinle Police Department, Commander Yazzie, Navajo Nation EMS, Navajo Nation Fire and Rescue, and Chinle Comprehensive Healthcare Services for responding to the call. The individuals that lost their life gave all to serving their Navajo Nation. Healthcare is a necessity for our Diné people. The facts are that Chinle is a remote area. They have no control towers. There are minimum ADSB, which is an automated dependent surveillance broadcast coverage. And this airport is challenging to land, as in pilots have to rely on data from other places, such as Window Rocks Airport. They do have an automated surface observing system, an ASOS, and weather conditions such as crosswinds can change very quickly. Next slide. So with this, you do have within your packet a detailed budget and justification, and this falls under the 9,000 capital outlay account. The budget for both airports will be budgeted at $483,800. For each airport, we have a section 9022, which covers the airports, and this will include the purchase of the AWOS equipment. Within this also incorporates construction, the installation, and getting power to the site. I want you to note that, number one, the electrical costs have increased significantly, and this happens annually. The average cost is $175,000 for infrastructure to get power to the project sites. Number two, the Navajo airports require to be either an AWAS 3 or greater, which is required as part of the Federal Aviation Requirements of Part 135 operations for air medevac. These are 5+ levels of AWAS. This includes AWAS AB, AWAS 1, AWAS 2, AWAS 3, AWAS 3 PT, and AWAS 4. Attached, you will see that I did include a link into the website. You are more than welcome to look at that website at your leisure to see what types of systems we do need on the Navajo Nation. Under 9070, which is a CAT Pro Tech Services, we do have number 1 under the 9078 account, the CAP, which includes technical services, and the 303.200 will include the engineering services for design of AWAS placement according to the ALP. And so you did hear many of you ask questions about the budget when we were doing the confirmation, so this is part of that inquiry, and they are aware of the requirements for securing services, but I want you to know that within the United States, there are only 2 major companies that provide this equipment that meet the federal aviation standards. The total cost will be $1,270,800 for both Tuba City and Chinle AWAS. Additional information for the Navajo Nation is that the Navajo Nation has grants for the design of Tuba City, Crown Point, and Shiprock AWAS. Crown Point and Shiprock are receiving funds from the New Mexico Department of Transportation for their AWAS. Window Rock is another airport located on the Navajo Nation. They did not need an AWAS as they have the Automated Surface Observing System, which is the ASOS. Tuba City and Chinle do not have any construction funds at this time. Shiprock and Crown Point completed their design phase and will be starting the construction phase of the AWAS projects in 2026. Again, the New Mexico Department of Transportation funds will be used. Currently, there are no other external grants for construction and design for Chinle. Tuba City does have design funding, which was awarded by the FAA, but no construction funds. Since Tuba City received funds from the FAA, they would have to complete the Armstrong inspection, which is a really rigorous inspection, and this inspection averages $40,000 to $50,000. The Federal Aviation Administration does have federal requirements, which is 135.229, which is under the airport requirements. And as you look there, it requires no certificate holder may use any airport unless it's adequate for its proposed operation, considering such items as size, surface, obstructions, and lighting. B, no pilot of an aircraft carrying passengers at night may take off from or land on an airport unless, number 1, that pilot has determined the wind direction from an illuminated wind direction indicator or local ground communications, or in the case of takeoff, that pilot's personal observations, and 2, the limits of the area to be used for landing or takeoff are clearly shown. And under I, for airplane by boundary or runway marking lights, and for helicopters by boundary or runway marker lights or reflective material. And C, for the purpose of paragraph B of this section, if the area to be used for takeoff or landing is marked by flare pots or lanterns, their use may be approved by the administrator. And this is, again, reference for our federal aviation, and it does have the link provided there. The Navajo Division of Transportation does have a Department of Airport Management, otherwise referred as DAM. The Department of Airport Management, formerly the Department of Airport Maintenance under the Navajo Division of Transportation, does have an official plan of operation approved by the Navajo Nation Council, and this is administered under Title II of the Navajo Nation Code. The department title Plan of Operation for the Department of Air Transportation was developed to govern the structure, responsibilities, and authority of the division that manages and maintains Navajo Nation airports, including Crown Point, Shiprock, Chinle, Window Rock, and Tuba City. Key details from the plan include, number 1, the organizational sections. The plan of operation establishes 5 departmental sections. The administration, which oversees the policies, budgeting, and intergovernmental coordination. And the other part is flight operation, coordinates all aircraft movements under Navajo Nation operations. They also have safety, which maintains compliance with FAA standards and Navajo Nation safety policies. They also have aircraft maintenance, ensures operational readiness and maintenance scheduling for Navajo aviation infrastructure. They also incorporate training, which provides technical and regulatory training to airport personnel. They also have the authority and oversight. The plan places the department under administrative oversight of the Navajo Nation Division of Transportation with reporting obligations to the Community Development Committee, otherwise the RDC, of the Navajo Nation Council. It also mandates compliance with Federal Aviation Administration standards and requires coordination with state aviation agencies such as Arizona Department of Transportation and New Mexico Department of Transportation for grant eligibility. Under the operational goals, as stated on the NDOT Airports Management website, the department's mission is to ensure safe, effective, and sustainable operation of Navajo Nation airports, focusing on maintenance, equipment readiness, infrastructure support for emergency, business, and government aviation needs. In short, NDOT's Department of Airport Management operates under an approved plan of operation, which defines its governance structure, roles, and compliance framework for maintaining and upgrading Navajo Nation airport systems. In conclusion, this legislation incorporates the importance of flight safety on the Navajo Nation. It also allows for an opportunity for flight crews to deal with real-time critical weather data, which enhances flight scheduling, safety for our Diné people, first responders, and flight crew. In addition, the support will offer operational efficiency of our Navajo Nation airports, and it provides the rights of health care and the preservation of human life. Ako ekwata e bansi case khala e denekode in natan linigi nikhis eligot ako tza a wasa e biket si zinta di no ado ani skashin e nikhi ajaba halno ako ekwata e she e biket sizin. And I will allow the opportunity for my agents here to introduce themselves, and we will go ahead and start with our NDOT staff, Mr. Sosi.
Good afternoon, Honorable Speaker and esteemed members of the Council. I'm Michael Martin Sosi. I'm the new program manager at Department of Airports Management. I've been in my position for about 5 weeks now. Today, I want to raise a request for your support in a critical advancement in our aviation infrastructure, the AWAS system for Chinle and Tuba City. Installing these systems at the Tuba City and Chinle Airport would be an investment, not only for infrastructure, but in the people. Families who depend on working at the airport, medical transportations, and students who may one day pursue aviation careers in the Navajo Nation vision for a strong and self-reliant transportation network. I feel that the cost of inaction, depending on the distant weather reports for hoping for clear skies, is a far greater cost than not installing an AWAS system. I respectfully ask that the Navajo Nation Council support this request for AWAS funding at Chinle and Tuba City Airport.
Orlando Teller Edashijane. Nash Edjane Tachi in Slon Twahead Lini Bashichin. Torachini Dashiche do Shin Dashanella Ekot out the Nanshle. You see Nasha H and Deshiaho do the what we're sharing with you, Madam Speaker, honorable delegates, Shema Vice President Yat is to improve the safety element at our 2 airports. We are very unique when it comes to Indian country. We, as the Navajo Nation, have a series of airports across 2 states. If you count Navajo Mountain, literally 3 states. So all of our airports are sleeping giants, and they provide not only economic opportunity and economic viability to our communities, but on a daily, almost hourly basis, those airports provide critical care to our family members, community members, our relatives by flying them out to other facilities across the Southwest. And so this AWAS component is integral to providing a very sustainable opportunity for our sleeping giants so that they can, we can allow the transport and the safe operations onto Chinle and Tuba City. And understanding that this is important to our community members is really critical. And part of this element is, from what I understand, is also part of the infrastructure that the airport layout plan has incorporated. The master plan also has that incorporated, as well as the FAA-rated inspections, as Delegate Claw had mentioned, which is a very rigorous inspection that will review the pavement, the apron, the luminary, the maintenance plan and schedule, the perimeter fencing, the Part 77, and visual clearance, just to name a few elements that are going into the 40 to 60,000 cost element to complete. In doing so, having an AWAS on the airport not only provides the pilot and the users on the ground quick information of weather, and particularly where Tuba City is, the weather at the airport is different sometimes as the weather in Tuba City itself. So we want to make sure that the users of the airport, be it medical or otherwise, tour guides coming in, know what the weather is going in and out of Chinle and Tuba City. So with that, I sincerely appreciate this opportunity to support Navajo DOT, Department of Airports, as well as Navajo Nation's effort to improve their integral safety element into their airport systems.
With that, Speaker, we will go ahead and we will stand for questions. Again, we welcome all of you to ask any questions. And again, this is very critical for the health needs of our community. And thank you, Speaker. We'll turn the time back over to you.
Yeah, thank you for that. Ready to vote? Oh, there's 3 people on the lineup. Honorable Chairwoman Charles Newton.
Thank you. Speaker Pro Tem, there is a document in this packet that is a little bit hard to read. It's the estimated design and construction costs that breaks down, I think it's the description of something. Can we get a better copy of this document? Thank you, Speaker Pro Tem.
Yeah. Clear copy. Shanale, Honorable Claw, your agents.
Thank you. I believe the document that is being referenced is the estimated design and construction costs. Is that the document? Okay, so we will go ahead and request for NDOT to send a clear copy via email. It may have been just the copying from our computer, but my copy is clear. I don't know if everyone else's. So that would be my response. It may be a few minutes.
Shanala, the Honorable Claw. Shanala, Honorable Chairwoman Charles Newton. Is it okay if we move forward while we wait for the document, or do you want the document first?
First.
All right. Okay. With that, how many minutes do you think, Shanala, Honorable Claw?
Okay. So I have conferred with my agent, and it may be 10 to 15 minutes.
Okay, so with that, we'll go ahead and recess for 15 minutes while we await for the document. Recess for 15 minutes. Woba.
Colleagues, if we could also welcome and honor one of our veterans, Mr. George Silversmith. He is here in front of the presenters table, and he recently received the Medal of Valor from the Navajo Nation. So we'll give him, the family, the opportunity to speak. Kodon he salatso he gaho ako the hetrayaho etle ko consciage he had khaninya to the family of Mr. Silversmith. We'll have the delegates situate here, and then we'll do some introductions.
I'm touching your stuff, sorry. Oh, there you go, right here, this one.
Okay, so if we could quiet down, we would like to have Mr. George Silversmith and also his family to introduce themselves.
Ya tela fitne ko na tani da na kini ba hojo ye gunjanon na khanda ka ba shehil shedi George T. Silversmith in the shige kare 97 shinakhay le tubisini de station de are law Pelican le Kotradirata no ya dalne. The Monday morning it the Haleho the van trading post at the motel that's it. She Arabis come Monday morning I haya. She little street light it has done a Tadara. Never yet bada hold. Also law kona ki aj the old order. Conde Kujo to the east side. Others Naga. So law Arbana aj. That Hashi hot in Hola. Nobody really knows the Quaggy. Dog butcher was nail order. The ones that this zone 30 feet in there. I could tell you that. Because you could all nail order. I don't know, 30, tried to kill. She had stone to Hogila. She had this stone. Windshield, she had this stone. And I suppose she had the best task on there. Because it's done as distant. I don't know, it's done. Because I'm not star. I'm shot. It's easy. Because hard as a die. Oh, Dora, she ladder. Oh, yeah, she's touching that on. Lake of your Lord. It's at a host nest on Ireland. So that corner, it's your Lord. Say, yeah, she got that way. I don't. It's that day, Monday morning, Friday afternoon, Captain Tensor Nazareth, yeah. It's Eli. Concord. Slovenant, ideally, Monday morning, acting captain, he left 8 o'clock in the morning to 5 o'clock. She's on and I'll toss in sauce. I don't know, Monday morning, as a slow captain, but officer, yeah, Kona Schala says, and a sergeant, Katini the Sergeant Paddock Jolie, Ashes Yahadu. Then later, hot sergeant said, it's a lot of this torture, ne? No, he can't. But it's not only can't rat it, actually, in Shankoni, in the Nakin, the East North Gotkina. Ita, because I didn't know, I never I don't couldn't now I know. I dash could nesting down. Say, yeah, this kiddo, that hog on it, bar hot. Yeah, tried it this don't know. Because Sergeant, I say, oh, you can't it's not on. No, did I just stop with the nobody going that way. I'm going to go up that way and see if I can see him to show. I don't touch on chance. She's not ill. When the slave go to at the stone, son. Yes, she windshield, so that's a tadeo. Ready area the stone. I see ready it is chosha. At the walk on his either. I see leave, cause go head, son. Green, the last at all. They live last a bit to hot chill. I can't sneak like a that short. I 300 tili ali, even net easy. Kan löt nästan skiten. För det är det hot så. Denna. Alle det till talande. Jag ser då kunde det vara som kitchen. Le school that time. Wall, rock wall. So it is in front of the school. What that is that. Hey, now I eat so. I don't says any. When you got the corner, it's a large. Not kids, okay. You watch out over there, but so. She could have says it all. But then I live latte wall, and that don't hot chill. I never like. It's going to see the rifle. I see it, Tashi. Belt of Kabatsabi is dinner. He's not either a town that day. Our queen, sir. Lives those she that's in so. I can wait now, she thought near. I didn't have a bed to actually. I don't call it done. Leave it to have to love. Couldn't this done. I never can, no, no. That's dollar. I bet I don't eat it. Look at how can't. I just asked that to I get over here, couldn't give. Say, I can't give it. So I say, yeah, it's going to be Latin. Now, I will let this. I will seen that's it. They take him to the doctor. The officer's not key. Don't let him out of your sight. Stay with him. And then they get treating, put him in jail. Better watch him too, but it's not. I don't care. Hospital, that's the. Okay, that's it. That eat that chief dart. Charlie, and the chief said, long. Could I win the rock though? There, what you know? Why in the hell didn't you shoot him? I did. I disarmed him, but didn't I did a good job to start. I don't want to. I said, "Come on, oh, shut down." And they could. I did cut all look up at the show. Anyway, you got him anyways now. I don't. Okay. Only I'll meet the police officer and say, I don't know. And then loan, yes, but that. I just 8 days ago now. Okay, but in I don't know what's Could the Bible tell in Uncle? I didn't trailers, so I be Shigana. My son, the kid, it will take care. My wife, look at the water. So that my son asked us to talk. I could, but him that cut, you know. Go on, now, Lord. Because she got in the trading post, the opinion trading post, that Bill Malone, Joliet, that it called to see la. Now, how are you, you know? Well, I'm fine for this. I thought they said you got shot, you know. No, it's my other officer. He's the one that got killed with this stuff. I can say that on the state about this stuff. Oh, yeah, God bless, you know. Yeah, it's in the name. Last month, couple months ago, I just then Bill Malone, Joliet, they killed at the store and they. All the time, what's out of my wife? One just doesn't know. What the hell? I don't know. That's enough, Dad. Put your gun up, is enough. It didn't yet, but it's just like John Wayne did, you know. I out on dark, on 20s. That then, I thought I understand that got then. Because if you guys, what I yell, see, that's in it. I don't know what you did, you know. Well, it just happened all of a sudden. In the following year, 76, in Phoenix, the Baha'i. The other, what do you think? What should we do with him, you know? I mean, that guy was saying, yeah. Well, since he killed one of our officers, he's the one that's living. Just put him in the pen, lock him up, don't let him out as long as he lived with this. See how the life was because it was hot. But it's a lot of that. 100 years over, so Hanit, Addition to Stare. Hot hot in Lashik A. Aradat, Yato. I thought of it, but I just laugh. I now Kainani, na, Le Lapton, Jene Kirana. I just a substation, I Ado Inash, Nishinde. Because Lieutenant City, Yado, Tibu City, go and Aden Station, do start Nina. Kolas, Hotela Nashikena Tini. Yet Hatchin in the slow, Hanagani Shizé. God out and then door. My wife, now cut the net. In 1952, 53, in the eye. I got not Kushini 68 years, Net Asha. That is 5 years ago. It's on just the day. That side is where they will take care. Hot oil, I don't know how. Shall chin it on a hand that they canely Portland, Oregon, there. And that at a bagan. Hot elan, Neshikana, Sini. Yeah, got in so Zealand, so don't let yourself fall. Just be strong. Follow the Lord. Hadisiyen Hadnegi. Because you went, no, you went. Hadisiyen. Nice, oh, they don't say, just throw it away. أنا أخصاشي ناشت أندل كده أسيقوا ديتا إن ده بول درمال يه أزستابيجيو إتين دجت دان دجت أني أروي هتا دو أخذون زاغي شاكس كي أخيها شلين نكتيا إياه أخيها لا يغن داس نش كتزيلو that innocent stand strong be bold right the Lord
Thank you, everybody.
thank
That said, stand strong, but the truth will always be there. Whether people try to bury the truth, try to hide it, try to kick it, it'll scream out and say, hey, this is the truth. So believe in that because it'll come out. Thank you, everybody. God bless you. My name is Leland Silversmith. I'm Nakai Dine'a, Nanish Edutachitni, Chichegi Ki Ani, Shaneligi is Hanagapni. Thank you.
Triple City there yeah Con say yeah
And colleagues, at this time, we will do a roll call. Colleagues, we do have 18 members, 19. So we'll exit out of recess at 5:37 PM. And we were addressing a point of privilege raised by Chair Regina Charles Newton. And colleagues, that should have been in your email at 5:34 PM. And we had to zoom in on the original copy that we did have. So we try to make it as clear as possible of what we had in the system. And that should have been in your email at 5:34 PM. And we will go for questions. Chair Crotty, first in queue.
Hi, appreciate it. Thank you. So I'm going to go back to the law, the appropriation law. Everybody should know the citation now. And the requirement for Navajo Nation funds, per the law, states that there has to be an approved plan. And so my question to Legislative Council, and I've, asked Office of the Controller, because they have a memo, and they didn't, in their financial impact analysis, they do not identify that this is not part of an approved plan. And OMB also failed to identify the provision in the Appropriation Act. So we're trying to tighten everything up. My question then, I did request if we could get that New Mexico money, and it's great to know that NDOT is very proactive when it comes to these observation centers that are needed for safety. And what I want to do is make sure I get that copy so that we have accountability. But I'm looking at, and this is what's interesting because it's a regional plan. And what we have right now are just chapters are submitting their capital outlay priorities. And so I'm not sure, and this is why it's critical that NDOT develop the plan, because we need to know through your vetting what's ready to go, what funding you have, what are shortfalls, and how we could move forward in an efficient manner. Because what we don't see, and I haven't seen in either Chinle or Tuba City agency yet, is this prioritize on their capital infrastructure plan. So if we could have a conversation about what would that look like so that chapters can echo the request on the needs to enhance public safety, access to medical care. In COVID, how many times we were flying out individuals. And so I think in terms of just to make sure that we're doing this in a systemic way, I would also want to consider an amendment just to add if there was any federal or let's say external funds available that NDOT would then reimburse the fund. Because NDOT should actively be looking for external funding dollars if they've been successful in other areas, and also then just leveraging, because I'm not exactly sure what are the priorities of the airport management. I looked at your quarterly report and your external fund, so it's a lot of guessing, and I think at this point for NDOT as an agent should have that information. Those were critical questions I wanted to ask at Budget and Finance, and unfortunately, we didn't have the agents available at that time. So if I could have Legislative Council think about it, what that language would look like, that information for current New Mexico funding for Crown Point and Shiprock or other airports in the New Mexico area, and how we're going to, like, do we need to waive the Appropriations Act since it requires a plan? And I think that's just something that we need to tighten up on our end. And I will reserve my time, but thank you for this critical funding request.
Reserve time of 1:33. Next, we will go to Chair Eugenia Charles Newton.
Thank you, Speaker. And then thank you for the legislation. I want to go back to the statements made that healthcare is a necessity for all of our Navajo people. And this is looking at our Navajo people. And I appreciate the PowerPoint. And I understand what you guys are asking for with this AWAS. And in your presentation, you do state that Crown Point and Shiprock are receiving funds from New Mexico DOT for their AWAS. What I'd like is to see that grant information to make sure that it's not just covering a portion, because one of the issues that we're having with the state of New Mexico is if the language is incorrect. For instance, if there's a request for plan and design, but we need to move towards construction, New Mexico will not allow for those funds to be used for construction. And I know that we did receive a comment from Crown Point, from Rita Capitan, asking why Crown Point wasn't being considered for this. And again, I know that in your presentation, you're saying that there's New Mexico DOT funds available for this. I'd like to see that, and just to ensure that all of the airports across the Navajo Nation receive these AWAS. Because if we, thinking about all of the people who get flown out, who get transported out because of medical reasons, we want to ensure that they are safe with these, with AWAS. Thank you. I reserve my time.
Reserve time of 3:22. First, I'm going to go to Chief Legislative Counsel. There was a question from Chair Crotty regarding the Appropriations Act and also the capital improvement projects. Ms. Espino?
Thank you, Madam Speaker, members of the Navajo Nation Council. And Chair Crotty, in response to your question, I am reviewing the legislation, and as brought up earlier, there is that requirement for the capital improvement plan, which is in 12 NNC Section 820I. And I believe that could be waived, but I'm actually receiving some texts back from my financial appropriations expert at OLC. So I would just need a few more minutes in order to make that determination, and if an amendment is needed, we'll probably need a few minutes to draft that as well. Thank you.
And I'll go back to Honorable Tlaw.
Thank you, Madam Chair Crotty, for your questions, and thank you for citing the Appropriations Act and also posing the question to our Office of Legislative Counsel. Again, if there is that requirement, I am in full support of considering a waiver for the CIP. And as mentioned, Mr. Michael Sosi has now established himself as the lead for the department. There has been a high turnover within this particular department. And with that, we did go through the process of, discussing the capital improvement. Now, one thing, being a Resources and Development Committee member, is that even chapters are not aware of 12 NNC subsection 820I. And so they're not fully educated. And so we, as council delegates, do have to take that responsibility to educate our chapters as well as divisions and departments. I also want to make it known that we as a council have been working to improvise and also, look at where there are shortfalls within the Appropriations Act. And one of the main things that has been tasked is Budget and Finance Committee has made amendments to the BIM. Now, the part where we have at some point confused them was, number one, we did have a continuing resolution the first year. And then they came before and they had to do base planning budget amounts. And so to me, honestly, I think that we needed to probably give them a little more time. Even for my chapter of Chinle, as you will see, and I will probably have to offer an amendment when that does come before the council here, our chapters didn't know what to put in for capital improvement. And it was almost like a Christmas wish list. They put everything they could think of without considering the limitations or even considering what was realistic. And so with that, I think that, I, as a delegate, will take responsibility for that, as I should have better prepared our chapters. But most times we're here on the council floor legislating. As far as the other issue about our states receiving funding from New Mexico Department of Transportation, I believe Mr. Sosi did email out that information, and within here, I'm just going to read it. I don't know if you sent this out.
Yes, I did.
Okay, so if you could, Jalissa, send that out to our delegates. But I'm going to go over what I see here, and this is regarding the funds. So within here, of course, the Department of Airport Management, they do have external funds which are granted to them from the FAA. And in here, we do have our airport management, and under number 10, this is K account 233028. And in here, there is a section for Crown Point, and this is the connector and the apron. And this planning started in 2023, and it's supposed to be completed. But as you heard, there's been many compliance issues, and then also we do have a rigorous assignment that is part of the FAA grant requirements. And in that amount that they awarded to the Navajo Nation for Crown Point, it is $1,502,000 that Crown Point does have. In addition to that, under number 11, we do have under K count 243012, we have Shiprock, and this is for the aeronautical survey. And this again was planned in March 1st of 2024 with a completion date of March 1st, 2026. And the amount here as well is for $150,000. And then moving down, we do have number 13, New Mexico Department of Transportation under Crown Point. They do have the reconstruction and design, and that was supposed to start of February 2026 of 2024 and ending in 2026 of the same date of February 26. And that is $43,200. In addition to that, they do also have the aeronautical survey funds, which is number 12, which is K243013, and the same date applies of March 1st, 2024, completion date of March 1st, 2026, and the amount is $150,000. If you move on down to number 16, under K account 243016, we do have Crown Point, and they have an AWAS design and construction, and this was to begin in April 5th of 2024, completion date of April 5th, 2026, and the amount is $480,000. And then also, we do have Shiprock, and this is number 20 under K count K241200, and this is from the FAA, which is a reseal of the surface of the airport, and that amount was beginning in September 18, 2024 to September 18, 2028, and that amount is $84,532. Shiprock will also be receiving money from the Mexico Department of Transportation, and this is K count 253010, and this is for the rehabilitation of the runway and installing new pavement, and this is $8,453 with the start date of February 10, 2025, ending in February 10 of 2027. Crown Point will be receiving money from the Mexico Department of Transportation, and they've already granted this in K account 253012, and this is for the maintenance, and the amount here is $20,000, and this was to begin on June 19, 2025, ending in June 19, 2027. Shiprock Airfield also received maintenance and consumable, which was July 29, 2025 to July 29, 2027, and the amount was $20,000. So those are all of the K accounts. And I'm sorry, I did miss number 15. This is for Shiprock, and this is New Mexico Department of Transportation. We have K account 243015, and this will consist of the design and the construction of the AWAS. And so that would be on March 29 of 2024 to March 29 of 2026. And the amount for their AWAS is $480,000. So I believe that was emailed to all of my colleagues here on the floor, and that would be in response to what funding sources were given to New Mexico. And I want to clearly point out that New Mexico is very generous, as they have capital outlay funds for their airports, whereas in Arizona, we do not receive any of that capital outlay funding for our airports. And what does that mean? It does mean that we do have to look at our Navajo Nation resources to offset these projects for the safety for our constituents, especially when it comes to the flyouts. On an average, we have 18 flyouts from Chinle alone, and that's probably more for Tuba City, because we encompass communities not only to Chinle, but surrounding chapters. Within Central Agency, we do serve 16 chapters just for Chinle Comprehensive Healthcare Facility. And Tuba City Regional, they also serve the communities of the Paiute tribe as well as the Navajo Nation and also other indigenous tribes such as our Hopi relatives. So those are some of our statistics here. And then also we asked about our priorities. And again, as an oversight to our airport, we do have the Division of Transportation here. Mr. Sosi is here, and he has clearly stated that they are working on their priorities. Those will be presented to the Oversight Committee. Again, it's just not NDOT that has not presented their priorities. We still have divisions such as the Division of Economic Development that has yet to present their 5-year plan to the Oversight. So as we all entered our jobs here, we are playing to catch up with many of these divisions and departments. But I believe that as Oversight, we have been very consistent with having work sessions and then also meeting with our division directors. In addition to that, we do have a request for an amendment, and we look forward to that amendment when it is drafted. And then also there was requests regarding a reimbursement. And then also we were talking about leveraging these projects. I believe that we've clearly outlined that Navajo Nation has been leveraging external funds to get these projects completed. And then the priorities are listed within the quarterly report. During this particular fall session, we did receive reports from many of our divisions. So if you do look through there, I know the Airport Management Department did put in their statements as to some of the projects that have been completed. Within Chinle, we recently received resurfacing and new pavement for our runway. And even when you do that, we still have tragedies that happen like in Chinle. And it really does fall upon much of this safety equipment that the Navajo Nation is lacking. And even that, when we were talking about the NTSB investigations, we as a Navajo Nation are not really doing our own due diligence because they require much of that equipment for the investigations. We come here every day stating that we're advocating for our people, for their livelihoods, for their health, and for their welfare. And so moving this legislation forward will help us accomplish that goal and that task. And then also, I want to go ahead and say thank you to Madam Chair Charles Newton for your question, and thank you for agreeing that healthcare is important. And I'm glad that you did ask that, and you're always advocating for your community. So I hope that we have clearly shown that your area as well with Shiprock is being served under the Division of Transportation. We did provide the grant information that you requested, and as you can see, there is funding there for the planning, design, and actual construction of the AWAS. And then also with the funding, I know that there were questions as far as the audit, and I think that we're all aware of that, and we've become more focused on ensuring that there is the transparency and accountability. And I believe that Mr. Tom Platero took notes today, and I'm going to ask him to reassure us as well through his confirmation that he will complete that with the follow-through so that we are using those funds for what they are specifically outlined for. And then also, all airports across the Navajo Nation will receive an AWAS only if this legislation passes. As you can hear and see today, the two main airports of Arizona, Chinle and Tuba City, do not have AWAS construction funds. And so, as far as Windrock, they have the ASOS system, so they do not need the AWAS. At some point in time, they may be upgraded. However, that's what the NTSB is relying on that system, because they are the closest to Chinle. And so we do, stand for other questions, but I hope that I have answered those, and I will yield the floor back over to you, Speaker. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate Claw. Before we go back to questions, I also wanted to recognize Mr. Lavon Thomas. with Bear Construction Company. He actually just reached out recently. He did sponsor dinner. Yeah. Thank you. I know, we were about to break out our bologna sandwiches. But thank you, Mr. Thomas, for your generosity and also sponsoring council's dinner this evening. Yeah. MIT graduate. Wow. And St. Michael's. Right, thank you, Mr. Thomas. So he is here in the gallery. Point of privilege raised by Chair Crotty.
Thank you. If I could have staff for the documents, you could send this out digitally in response to the comment that it's the BIM that confused everyone. Could you send out a comprehensive budget fiscal year 23, comprehensive budget fiscal year 24, and comprehensive budget fiscal year 25? All three of those budgets waived the Appropriation Act at 820I, 840B, 860. And so every delegate should know that provision if you're voting to waive that law. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Crotty, and I will recognize that, and staff will be sending that out shortly. So just give us a few minutes. Colleagues, that should be in your email at 6:04 PM. And we'll go back to the main motion. Delegate Lester Yasi.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Good evening. Ada in the base mahasa an honet an the honit lonige kya la no bandates enige, and also to Honorable Claw with your agents, and having this discussion regarding our needs at our airports. Before I begin, thank you, sir, for the dinner. It was good. I appreciate it. Thank you. Kudo na kyo ke na ide dish kitten then we with this presentation and understanding that aviation safety is really should be one of our priorities. And like it was mentioned, the weather for takeoffs and landings, and of course the emergency response. And so my question would be, are they FAA certified to maintain and operate this equipment? And then also this budget request, is that going to be installed by NDOT, or is that going to be contracted out for installation? So those would be the questions. And I also do appreciate Madam Chair Charles Newton for bringing up two of our chapters in Eastern Agency. And one in particular I'd like to ask is regarding the Crown Point site. In here, I do see, and I do appreciate all the supporting document. It makes things, it gives them more light on what questions to ask. Under number 14, K count 231033 for Crown Point, we do have an allocation of 432,000. And with the estimated design and construction costs, it is apparent that all these charges together subtotal 414,900, I believe that's what it is. So with all the engineering, with all the adjustments of 10% taxes and everything else, total cost came out to $435. What is it? Sorry. $635,400. So with that, where can we incorporate these additional expenses for the engineering, and where can I find that in this document? So that would be my question. Thank you, Madam Speaker. I reserve my time.
Reserve time of 2:17. Next, Delegate George Toll.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Aro koro matani Glenny 25th Navajo Nation Council. Do kon taita kihat. Aro stage. I do support this initiative. It's very important for our family, especially the nurses. The nurses and doctors, they usually get on this plane, because I used to work with Crown Point as a transporter, work in the ER. And I know you got to have a good landing, you got to have a good light. And then also the site itself, the runway has to be fenced so the animal doesn't get in the way. That's the way Crown Point is. So I'm just sorry to say every time we say community, no, we always throw a red tape in there, and today number one priority is a human life that we're talking about. Diki bela ititlisa. Quite Aro di New Mexico, bis ania kinte. Hela. Ako, so I do support this initiative was deja yegonte. ado ne agent ko ha shi de qui hours shi de gi la yan tsada ke so hinal sos kid on hi ya ni kid. It goes back to the staff put all this information together and he could ishan no. So we have to give credit to the team here. So it is support. Otto, just to let you know, since you guys were doing introduction too, I'm here with my wife, Winitato, Sita. We've been together 51 years, and she took care of me, you know. The day I met her in San Diego when I came back from overseas, up to the state, and underneath Ashen Lincoln. The Hatchin Halodon, Hinalhano, Oko, Lajan Raish, Kiaro, Ekenaki, Ato, Sitso Keto, Shinalake, Sato Ishnale in Le Missouri, Nanagat, Eaj, Bjaitla Ash, Esh Son, Ganasla Ashne Oko, E Adis, Shinalhodno, Ko Adi Shalist Eko, Ede Yato, Dobetas, no the Snidakon. I really commend my wife to be on my side, 24/7. She takes care of me every day. She even looks in the house that we bought for her, and we're going to continue. I know agents, it's around the corner for us, Do a jo hitendashnish, do a jo, a lenwag el. We should have resolved this issue a long time ago, but do hot atara so tit ashonde jo na atos kito ben yehegi ge hot na te kidon jundo le se koido hunzan holjist. Ya koro on han he said or hinged on he the schneider. Those questions are legitimate, yes, but maintain to, if this is into that Heshin yo kedigi. Ya ben hitcha decision at Ali no Senegito, a cash at Diego, I do support, we need to support this initiative soon as possible. We can't wait, we can't wait. Konan Daskin, Oko Hatchini that Eko nurse and Lenegito, nurse assistant or doctor in that Jaco. Every night, 8 or early in the morning, sometime they call for airlift like 2 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock. What about the addition and study even I do support, and these airport needs to be really, being taken care of ourselves, and we need to advocate for it. So everyone, so thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Delegate Holt. And we'll go next to Chairwoman Brenda Jesus.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Speaker. Doing the not ani kunda. Andin kit hono lloni do ein kit na ada kit hono llon is not ingi. Ado shadeja for bringing the sad not so spe na dit ahi kodon kit dato nin so zigi. Ado kodo ya did not so zigi ya kodo she Lato be na hajopa insen be na la dolil. I need the Queen ndeze data jich in legiot o kot aba honne le ze il enadan linde bakal na bsan da hast hadotni. Ako kodat ahegi. Ako kodoshi ek ad Mr. Patero, I believe you're still in the gallery. Kodo east di dat ahegi benkich na hot hajo hatin ba khayan do di hajo airport ba khayan go yat jo an hinde kut an lechide in hilden dat it heging ha maintenance in dal in le oil change do kodat aho ado di tin kodat oil da in dal in le winter budget and da dil jisho ado di the airport and the shi kut ako di hat ishido ya at eho in hot eho inda the nata dil yesto sho shi hatni. And we need to stay away from that reactive mode and try to be more proactive and be prepared for these types of, operation and maintenance. I am in support of the legislation, and I'm also in support and thankful that the state of New Mexico has allocated a lot of funding for the airports in the state of New Mexico, because again, this is very much needed. And we also would like to continue to work with NDOT on these efforts. Ado Inda, the other part is, I always often wondered as council, we drive a lot, and I know that the Navajo Nation had these airplanes to utilize as a faster means of transportation from one area to another, but we don't have that luxury no more. And I know that several years ago, then Speaker Damon had proposed a legislation to buy another plane, but I think that wasn't taken very well by our people. But I really think that's another discussion that we need to have, and how that's going to look, because oftentimes we do business a lot with the tri-states that the Navajo Nation is staggered into. So I just wanted to put that out. And again, I really think that in regards to the Appropriations Act, I know that Budget and Finance Committee is very persistent in wanting, accountability and transparency. The very message that we voiced yesterday as we were walking here to council chambers. And I do appreciate the efforts of BNF and having to remind a lot of the other committees on council that we have to continue to work in accordance to the laws that are here before us, Akoho. I don't think it's so much not comprehending or forgetting it, but oftentimes that's where we as leadership have our shortcomings, but always often have to be reminded as well. But again, having the division directors and even the divisions and departments to continue to be accountable. So I'm glad that Mr. Sosi, you're here. I believe you're the airport management department manager. Thank you, and let's continue to work together and try to upgrade these airports across Navajo Nation, because it is needed. It's long overdue. And one of the things that I also want to highly recommend is to seek, other grant fundings out there through usgovernment.gov. I know that website, and I know that there's a lot of funding out there, but we would need to stay in compliance with the FAA regulations and guidelines as well. So, Shea Kodo, I am going to vote green for this legislation, because I think this is way long overdue. And let's continue to be proactive and be ready for a lot of these types of uncertainties that might happen, instead of at that very moment, we're trying to address a lot of these issues. So I really don't need a response, Madam Speaker, so I just wanted to state that in support for this legislation. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Chair Jesus. I believe that there was a question, a legal question that you posed. So I'll go ahead and turn the floor over at this time to our Chief Legislative Counsel, Mrs. Espino. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Speaker Pro Tem and members of the Navajo Nation Council. This is actually in response to the question asked by Delegate Amber Crotty. In regards to this request, this is a special appropriation or supplemental appropriation. And according to the Appropriations Act, the OLC has always interpreted that the supplemental appropriations does not trigger 820I. And so a waiver in this instance would not be required. But even if 820I was triggered, it was waived in CS 44-25. So again, a waiver would not be required in this instance. It's for 820I. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Mrs. Espino. My apologies, Chair Jesus. It was Delegate Crotty who did ask that question. So we'll go ahead and we will now proceed forward to the next person in queue. Chair Shandine Parrish, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Speaker Pro Tem, and good evening, colleagues on the 25th Navajo Nation Council. Thank you, Delegate Shauna Ann Claw, for this legislation. I was listening to the presentation, and I heard you mention statistics on, well, not statistics, advocacy for Tuba City and Chinle. Kayenta is right there in the midst of both of those communities. And the Kayenta service area spans from Navajo Mountain to Oljeto to Denahotso, Chilchimbito. So they cover a huge portion of the Navajo Western Agency. I'd like to know what research you have done in your continued advocacy for that airport there in Kayenta. I reserve my time. Thank you.
Reserve time at 4 minutes and 8 seconds. Since we did have two delegates who asked questions, I'll go ahead and turn it over to the sponsor at this time. Delegate Claw, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Pro Tem Chair, or Speaker, I'm sorry. So I will go ahead and go back to who was in the lineup, and I want to thank Honorable Lester Yazzie for the question. And the question was, are the AWAS FAA certified as far as the equipment? And again, I did provide a link in the web or on the presentation here. So if you can go ahead and click onto that, you can go ahead and look through that, but those are certified under the federal administration. And because if it's a Air Medevac, they require an AWAS of AWAS 3 and higher. So it depends on, number one, of course, the cost, and then, of course, what the purpose of the airport is used for. But they all are certified equipment, and if you look at the presentation, I did indicate that, part of that would be the engineering and design. So when we were talking about the rigorous inspection, it is a requirement under FAA that has to be inspected by a registered inspector of the FAA. And so much of that will be contracted out, and we are already doing that with our airports as they do go under inspection, and those are federal requirements. So thank you for that question. And then also you did talk about the Crown Point site and looking at that. Thank you for adding those numbers up. And I think that with your expertise and working with the veterans, you also know that that is important for our veterans as well. Many of them do get flown out for services, and we do want to continue those coverage for our members as far as our children, our elders, and those that need that medical care. So thank you. And then to Shana, Honorable George Tolth, I want to say thank you to your special guests. Mrs. Tolth, thank you for joining us here today. It's an honor to see you here, and it's really, heartwarming to see family members here in the gallery supporting the work that we do. And thank you for allowing your husband to serve our communities. And thank you, Shana, for your support. And then also, you are correct. Many of our nurses and doctors, they do come out to the Navajo Nation because, number one, we have beautiful landscape. More importantly, we have beautiful people. Many of them come out and there's not too many amenities for them, but they do dedicate their lives to serve our Navajo people. Very unfortunate in the circumstance of Chinle that 4 of those individuals did lose their lives. And they too had their own family. And, one of the thoughts when that happened, and I'm sure my brother, Mr. Teller, we had to go through a traditional ceremony because in the Navajo way, before we opened up this airport, we had to, again, think about our Diné people and their safety. But that makes us unique as a Navajo Nation. We have and we take our prayers into consideration. So much of that is incorporated, and I'm so thankful that NDOT was a part of that when that happened. We also had our first responders, our commanders. We have a wonderful staff, and I do want to just thank our CEO, Darlene Chi, Angie Nez, Perry Francis, and Dr. Gentoff, although he has retired and moved on, and then also Ursula Noki Wilson, because these individuals were able to work with our traditional health practitioner and Mr. Leroy Nelson, and he was, very helpful when this event happened. So I do agree that that's part of our teaching as Diné, and so thank you, Shana, for mentioning that. And you are right, human life is a priority, and that's why we take it with great honor to serve our communities and to ensure that not only are we looking out for their physical health, but also their mental, emotional, and spiritual health as well. So thank you again, Shana, for your words of support and encouragement. And then also to Madam Chair Jesus, thank you for also clarifying that we as a committee do need to ensure that we are abiding by the Appropriations Act. I hope that all of our departments and divisions are listening online and that they realize that this CIP is a requirement. It's mandated by the Budget Instruction Manual, and thank you to Shanella Ambercrotti for also specifying that. And then I want to thank our Legislative Counsel, Mrs. Espino, for also clarifying that this waiver is already included in CS-44-25, so there is no need for an amendment, but thank you for making that clarification as it does involve these funding. So those are the response that I would like to offer at this time, and I will turn the floor back over to you, Madam. And I'm sorry, let me go back to Shadeja Shanding. So thank you. I know she's always advocating for her communities. And one thing that I do want to say is that the helipad is located there at the center. And the one thing that makes it different and a little complex is that that is incorporated by the township. So we would need to look at the structure of how the airport management plan would be incorporated so that we could infuse some of the FAA funds as well as the capital outlay funding, and then also how we can create perhaps an agreement of some sort with the NDOT airport management team as well as the township. So we look forward to working with you. We'd be available to sit down with you to also try to advocate for funding. I know that your community is growing and you do service the chapters of Shana, Honorable Daniels as well. And then Honorable Curtis Yanito too. So we are open to including that and perhaps looking at legislation in the upcoming months so that we can also work with NDOT to get the budget forms, OMB, and the Office of the Controller involved. But thank you for advocating and also for your question. So with that, Madam Speaker, I will yield the floor back over to you. Thank you.
Is that a point of privilege? Okay, Delegate Yazzie.
Our Rule 16 point of privilege. Thank you, Honorable Claw, for your response. I believe I did not make myself clear, so I apologize. Okay, the estimate and design and construction cost. In line 14, Crown Point has been allocated $432,000. The total cost is $635, according to this document. So with that subtraction, my question was for the agent, we could potentially be $203,400 short of implementing this system in the Eastern Agency. So that was my question. I apologize. And now I hope that's a little more clear. Thank you, Madam Speaker. I yield the floor back.
Thank you, Delegate Yazzie. Need that in writing? Just kidding. Just kidding. No, in a memo format. I'm just kidding. All right, thank you, Delegate Yazzie, and we can address that point of privilege verbally. So I'll go back to Delegate Law.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and then thank you, Honorable Yazzie, for clarifying that. So I will go ahead and turn the floor over to my agent here, Mr. Sosi, and the question, I believe he did get the question, and if not, I can go ahead and restate it for him, but I believe he does have the answer readily available. Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you for the question, Delegate Lester Yazzie. Your AWA system in that area, it was a package of $425,000. Your construction for Crown Point as well as Shiprock, they're supposed to begin construction January 1st of this upcoming year. All of the design, construction, and everything has already been factored into it, all the way to the completion of it. There should be no shortfalls inside of that construction. All of it has already been taken care of. The only two that are lacking on the Navajo Nation are just the Tuba City and the Chinle and the airport at Delegate Parish's Kienta Township. That one doesn't have an AWAS too, but we will look forward to getting that taken care of once we meet with the Kienta Township in order to see how that will work. I hope that answers your question.
And Delegate Yazzie, did that address your question?
Madam Chair, excuse me, Madam Speaker, yes, it does. Thank you, sir. Appreciate the response.
Thank you. And we'll go next to Delegate Casey Allen Johnson.
Thank you, Speaker Curley, and thank you, colleagues, for your comments and your questions regarding this legislation. I'd like to thank the sponsor, Honorable Claw, for bringing this legislation. It's long overdue. It's way overdue, you know, and we've never been able to fly out anybody from Tuba City. And it serves 18 communities. With the population growth, now Tuba City Regional Hospital, now there's Echo Cliffs, you know, and it's, you know, in case of emergencies and everything like that, time sensitivity, and the time is, you know, important to get our relatives down to a special care facility, you know, something that, you know, if Flagstaff isn't available, if Albuquerque isn't available, then they would fly them down to Phoenix. You know, things like that, you know, we have to really consider. And, you know, looking at this legislation, you know, everything's there. It went through the whole process, you know, OMB, OC, DOJ, you know, and I'd like to thank our legislative council for, you know, regarding the supplemental, doesn't require a waiver. And, you know, there's a lot of, you know, need for this throughout the nation, you know, and we would like to continue to improve, you know, our airports, making sure that they have quality systems in place, you know, and we really need to get this, you know, across the finish line here this evening. So colleagues, I really would appreciate your support. You know, I visited an aunt of mine in the hospital Saturday after the parade. And, you know, and I thought about, you know, that this legislation, you know, having our relatives, we want them to have this access, be able to, you know, in case of emergencies, you know, to really, you know, have that available to them. And also not only that, but also the doctors and the physicians and the specialty, you know, that fly in, you know, that the contractors, you know, when they come in, you know, to do on-site, you know, appointments with patients and everything like that, we want that available, you know, to them as well. You know, and I know that the cost of gas, for our relatives to travel all the way down to Phoenix, Albuquerque, stuff like that. This would be available to, the specialty doctors. And one of the things that's happening now, colleagues, is the inflation, the cost of material, the cost of system, the cost of software, the cost of, all the technology right now. We really need to, move on this because, there is, a delay in material right now. So, we really need to get this out, to our communities, and this will be in the best interest, serving our communities. So, colleagues, I just ask that you vote green on this, and let's support this and move this forward. Thank you.
Next is Delegate Helena Nesbegay.
Oh, she had Nana, and then she had Shetway for bringing this legislation before us, and then your agents too, she had Shachana. Though I do support this legislation, it's for the safety of our people. You see in Tuba City, if we don't have this AWAS there, in order for our planes to land there, we need that. And although the only time that they can land is on a clear weather. Although when we can't fly them out, they're taken to Page or Kienta to fly them out because sometimes they can't go into the helicopter. Although because of not having this AWAS with our family, we lost a cousin because of this with her unborn twins. So this has been long overdue. This happened about 13 years to 15 years ago. So you see my colleagues support us in this legislation. Although and we have animals. We have animals that in Tuba City, we have animals that come into it's not fenced in. So that's a safety hazard too. So that's something that Mr. Sosi, you can look into. So because we saw pictures of that. It was on the Navajo Hopi newspaper. So you see, we need to really fix up our Tuba City airstrip without a Bahastito supporting this legislation. Do a head and sago. I waive my time.
Waives her time. Delegate Daniels.
Madam Speaker, Ado Nkodo Shanatano Shanagi, 25th Navajo Nation Council. Ado Kodo Shute Jukodo, Ike Kodo Nalsos, Bedan Hodit, I Kodo Nalsos, Bedo Kedi Kodo Gitas Nilsozo, Benashikodo by Yelti, Donana Ban Yelti Kodo, Kodo Arkushin Kodo Ibada is Si Kodo, Adonana Kodo Nagay throughout the Navajo Nation. We have 110 chapters, and some of those chapters, they have airports go there. Those are for in my area, my region, Natsasan, they have an airport, but they have a runway. From Utah delegation, representatives, senators, Ida Baban says Kesi Ecuador. Adonana Oljeto, Gouldings, they have an airport. Gouldings was once the second busiest airport in the state of Utah. The first one to get in Salt Lake International Airport, Adokon Gouldings. Adokon, there's others. Pakodona Gaita, Gishbahasan, Navajo Nation Hospitality Enterprise. And we get a lot of tourists. They come in, they fly in by planes, single engines, twin otters, that hikidea. Ebishin tanta. Or that elder papansas kesako for their safety. Hoteko, Aronana Koto, Ot Obapansas case of Otam, Ot end in a great Arolevatam accident Alejo, in a great the clinic, the great Marma Valley Clinic, they have a helipad, question. As should Ausleko, Aronana Koto Nagaitam, Kienta, Aj Airport, or use it Sneko. So Edabansas case ago. Kodotam Shamaya Hatzi, Kodotam Chairwoman Kodona Shandin Persh, Yahatzi, a Kokienta. I see Kodoza Hait Adanha. Beshin Doshnish Kodo, Nagai Township. I see Kodo John Dollar Kotzago. Because Zada Aj de Chosh, Kon here, Nikita and Linigi.
I apologize. Speaker, we have an incident outside, so can you enact a safety protocol for inside the council, please?
Marcarlo, update? The Sergeant of Arms? Okay, okay, he's securing the door. Yeah. Let's take a recess first, colleagues. There's a situation going on outside. Recess at 6:42. So staff, if you can also just stay away from windows. We had previous staff training on incidents or anything like this, so doors are secured too, so no one should be. Yeah, we have children too, so the doors are secured, colleagues. We'll just wait. Yeah, we'll notify the other campuses. All right, so police officers gave us a thumbs up, and thank you to our police officers. We did take a quick, immediate safety recess. Thank you, Sergeant. Okay. So we'll be in this to be cautious. Sergeant Joe did confirm that the person was apprehended. However, we'll still guard the gallery doors. So staff, we do have two police officers on site, so they'll be outside and then one inside. So with that, we do have 18 present here. We will reconvene here at 6:48 p.m. Delegate Daniels, you had 211 left.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Yeah, I don't know what else to do. Is anybody else here to be based on that? But oh, you don't on the balance case. You don't agree for your safety. You don't. Oh, it is. Nakada has hit on an aquadon halchina. Down the house, Tranco, you pass to you. I call wheats ego, you know, the recess, I'll eat and delkina. Or the shield, and there's a con later, hold just there. Go council at Hanan Stau, I think, need an assack at it. I call cut it lay Nahat Had and Lego and I'll kill. I call Edo Yababa, Yababa, was a steel yakodo. Kodonagay Western Agency delegate, like Kodonagay pedestrian, get escort no hanne. That was late in close to midnight. Vacation order was a hot eat either. I was the first one at the scene. Which and all nagid away at a national age. Donna at Hegit ada. So that ego that we have Rabas ski with us and Shandy Zabiga Habane Kako. But without Oshi, that's a Kodo Ken, the Sharkodo. I'm just going to support the legislation. I don't think it'll bend the teacher. I don't hear that it's jet or little soy. The Shnukodo or that Hanana Stidole. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate Daniels. And next, we do have Delegate Nathan Nota.
Delegate Claw, I do support your legislation. Safety is important for all of us Navajo people. I do have one question. The accident you indicated that happened in Chinle, you said that that hasn't been determined what caused that. And it seems like you're tying that to AWAS. I do support what you're doing, what's taking place. I'm wondering if there's anything more immediate, more urgent than the AWAS at this point in time, and what your research and your knowledge is about that. And then the maybe other equipment or other implements that need to be put in place rather than the AWAS. I don't know anything about aviation. That's why I'm asking this question. Also, just a comment, Michael Sosi. I live on 491 in Tohatchi. My surrounding communities, Nash City, Mexican Springs, Twin Lakes, Tohatchi. We've had quite a few accidents over the last several years. We've always have to air medevac people out from the highway 491, and it's very dangerous. We have a clinic there in Tohatchi. We have a makeshift runway in Tohatchi. I think that needs to be repaired. And I'd like to be in contact with you later to maybe start some type of a program to rehabilitate that runway and talk about the things that I just mentioned. That's my question and comments. But, thank you, and I waive my time.
Thank you, Delegate Nota. And Chair Crotty waives their time. Chair Regina Charles Newton, 3 waives their time. Delegate Yazzie. Chair Shandi Parrish waives our time. I'll go back to Honorable Tlaw. Any more closing thoughts or questions to the comments that were raised? There is no one in queue.
Thank you, Shadeja Speaker. I want to thank Honorable Casey Allen Johnson for the support, as well as Shema Helena Nesbigay, and then Shana Herman Daniels. And it is true, when you hear commotion out there, it does create a trigger for some people. So thank you for taking our safety into consideration, as well as those here in the gallery. And then also to Honorable Nota, you did have a question, and I believe this will tie into what Honorable Chair Parrish also requested, was to introduce another legislation so that we can incorporate more airports into rehabilitation, as well as gaining new AWAS systems, since some are almost expiring. We will work with delegates that are interested, and Mr. Sosi does have that as his to-do list here. So we will go ahead and take that into consideration. And then to Honorable Nota, as far as the safety requirements, again, this is the recommendation from our Federal Aviation Administration, and so the AWAS is the top of the line, and I believe that our communities do deserve quality, and that's what we're advocating for here today. So that's the recommendation that we took in strides of moving our communities forward as far as their infrastructure. And then we will, again, work with each delegate that is interested. I did hear Shana Herman Daniels also state that he has communities that he would also like to serve. We do have the division here, and they've heard your concerns, they've heard your issues, and we did make note of that. And I do appreciate other delegates for waiving your time and taking our safety into consideration. And that would be my response. And then also just offering that in closing. I do want to thank the agents that are here with me. These are the experts in the field. And as one question was, do we have individuals capable of running the airports? And I think that we have always stated that we believe in our youth, our young people, to go to school, to come back, and we have many of them coming back. And I want to attest to that by Mr. Teller's presence here. He was the first Assistant Secretary for Tribal Affairs for the United States Department of Transportation. And so, and he will take a little bow after, but that just shows that, our Diné students, our Diné people are capable of holding those titles, and they in turn do work with other tribes all across the United States. So again, thank you, colleagues, for your comments, your concerns, your recommendations, and above all, for your prayers for our people that are in need of health care. Very thankful for those prayers that are offered, and for those people that to continue to serve our communities. And those are the nurses, the doctors, our first responders, our public safety. Each and every one of them plays a vital role to this, as well as our hospital administrators, all of them. And without them, this legislation wouldn't be here before us, because they did put their comments forward. They put their hard sweat, tears, and blood into this legislation. so that we could serve our Diné people. So with that, Speaker, I will turn the time back over to you. Thank you. Thank you, Delegate Tlaw. We do have new in queue, Chairman So.
Shima-san, I don't need a response, but just a comment. Kodo to ke, kodo sabe tanadit ahi, kodo benin ya. Though it had, tragically, it had to take the accident to get something. This AWAS has been in conversation since I came into council, and it's about time. And even though the hospitals were asking for these things, but it's good that we're here, we're united on this, and it's in the name of health, safety throughout the Navajo Nation, and Tuba City had never had an AWAS for years and years. To get medevac out from the hospital would cost you from $12,000 to $80,000. But, that's the price of health care. But I thank INDOT for continuing to push that this is what we need, this is what we need. The person before you, Begay, I'm trying to remember his name. The guy that was, that filled that position. Huh? Jonah Benali, is it? Begay. And, it's been in DOT's conversation. So it's just been there. But it's about time that this came before council, and, at the end of the day, we're all going to support this. And, Speaker, it's just going to waive my time and just go and vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair So. Delegate Unito.
Shiro here Disney for this legislation. I support it too. Here late Utah jo a Blanding airport usually every night it goes to the Albuquerque or Salt Lake or somewhere every night, and so it is really a crucial benefit for the community. There was that accident that happened on the road, it just felt like a tragedy, but, I guess this is what that legislation is for, too, for all of our benefits. I don't hear Utah, and I really have I feel the need for all of the communities within the Western Agency, so I support that. And then I need the nebe bibichin hot ito ani nayin any weather because we're going through climate change and so forth, and a lot of times, even myself, I don't even watch the news anymore. I have to really call out to see what the weather's like, just coming over to these meetings. Thanks for your legislation and all your agents and everybody that supports this. Let's take a vote. Yeah.
Thank you, Delegate Unito. And colleagues, I don't see anyone else in queue, so we will go to a vote on the main motion. 2 minutes on the board, colleagues. Majority vote. Delegate Nocha, how do you vote? Green? And we have a vote of 19 in favor, 0 opposed, with speaker not voting. May motion passes. Chair Eugenia Charles Newton.
Thank you, Speaker. At this time, colleagues, I would like to request a motion, or I'm sorry, make a motion for a directive. Speaker, with our last legislation regarding Mr. Colin Bradley, that legislation was not passed by this council, and I'd like to offer a directive at this time. And for the two AG opinions that were issued, the AG opinions have nothing to do with the actual issue, but more with the fact that we have the acting Attorney General who went beyond his scope by trying to legislate Navajo Nation law. So at this time, I'd like to ask for a motion for a directive. I reserve my time.
And I know we're taking pictures, but we're also still middle of business. So maybe Tatiana, if you can lead the group outside if they want to take a picture outside, because we still have a motion on the floor, unless if we recess and take pictures. Okay. Okay. And staff is going to read that directive.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Directive to the Department of Justice. The Department of Justice shall immediately, no later than Thursday, October 23, 2025 at 12 p.m., remove all publications of the unlawful purported Attorney General opinions, AG-03-25 regarding the use of blood quantum in membership, and AG-04-25 regarding provisions of the Diné Marriage Act of 2025 that void and prohibit same-sex marriage contracted outside of the Navajo Nation, that Mr. Colin Bradley attempted to issue on October 21, 2025, when he served as acting Attorney General and was not authorized to issue Navajo Nation Attorney General opinions. Mr. Colin Bradley's confirmation failed on October 22, 2025. The unlawful purported Attorney General opinions are beyond the scope of legal analysis and instead attempt to legislate Navajo Nation law in violation of separation of powers established in CD-68-89 and other Navajo Nation law. Madam Speaker.
Thank you, colleagues. And is there a second? Chair James, second? Question and comments on the directive? Two minutes on the board, colleagues, on the directive. Delegate Arvizo, Delegate Helena Nesbegay, Delegate Norman Begay, Delegate Danny Simpson, Delegate Carl Slater, (17 in favor, 0 opposed, with speaker not voting. Directive passes. Vice Chair Johnson.
Like to thank everybody, 25th Navajo Council, legislative staff, everybody that was here this evening. I'd also like to thank my family here, Alvina and Yithnaba, for being here. And thank you for the tamales. It was very delicious. So she heard that we didn't have lunch or, so she ended up getting those tamales for us yesterday. So just like to thank you, appreciate it. So at this time, colleagues, motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Vice Chair, was that a directive that you will bring tamales every session? I'm just kidding. Okay. All right, and an LDA to Chair Regina Charles Newton. And many of our LDAs and staff actually brought snacks, refreshments, side dishes to help the council for these 3 days. So thank you very much. Kodo, we're on behalf of us, thank you very much for keeping us in your prayers and also in your thoughts. Your generosity means a lot. And do we have a second for adjournment? Delegate Claw? Comments on adjournment? Delegate Nez?
Yeah, real quick. Madam Vice President's ready to walk out. Madam Vice President, hold on, real quick. So just a quick announcement. So I want to say happy birthday. I'm going to vote red on this so we can celebrate tomorrow, so you're here. Just kidding. But happy birthday, Shema. Be well and take care. And thank you, everyone. I just wanted to make that quick announcement. I yield back.
Happy birthday, Shema. And the voting is live for adjournment. Delegate Daniels, Delegate Nathan Nota, Delegate Nota. Helena Nesbegay. All right, colleagues, I believe we do have a full vote. We have a vote of 17 in favor, 0 opposed, with the speaker not voting. And we will officially adjourn on day 3 of our council session. Congratulations, colleagues. We adjourn another session at 7:12 PM.